Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Math Made Easy with Terry in 10 minutes. So we're gonna go straight to quadratic inequalities. The previous video, I talked about how do you graph quadratic inequalities, but now we're gonna see how do we solve, okay? How do we solve quadratic inequalities? All right, so please, it's important that you subscribe and click on the notification bell so that when I upload new videos, you'll be the first person to know. Now, solving quadratic inequalities are similar to quadratic equations. So, and when plotted, they display the parabola. But the only difference here is that quadratic equations can have no one or two solutions, but quadratic inequalities have range of solutions. So if, for instance, you have a quadratic equation, so a quadratic equation, all right, you can have, when you solve it, you can have maybe no solution, you can have one solution, or you can have two solutions. Is that okay? But when you're talking about quadratic inequalities, this is a little bit different because in quadratic inequalities, what you are having here, you're going to be having range of solutions. So you're going to have range of solutions. So you're not going to have just one or two or no solutions. You're going to have range of solutions for this. Okay? And also, just to remind you as well, I showed you that there are several methods of solving quadratic equations. Okay, so I've told you can use the formula method. So we talked about the formula method, which is minus b plus or minus square root of b squared over b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Then I also talked about factorization. How do you factorize? So factorizing, we talked about the first one, we have the difference of two squares. Okay, so factorizing, we have difference of two squares. You can also use common factors. Okay, difference of two squares, you have common factors. You can also use trinomial. So we talked about all this, a equal to 1, or trinomials when a is not equal to 1. Okay, and I also explained the concept of also using formula method to factorize. Okay, then also you can also solve this using complete the square. I've shown, I have a video on that, okay, completing the square method. So I told you for this, you can either use the formula, okay, or you can use the when a is equal to 1. I showed you all this, and when a is not equal to 1. So I showed you all these methods of solving it. All right, I'm going to go straight into this. How do you solve quadratic inequalities? So there are 5 rules, all right? There are 5 rules for this. Now, the first one is that you have to transfer, as usual, all variables. So both the free term, the quadratic coefficient, the linear coefficient, talked about all this earlier. So you transfer all the variables to one side, okay, of the equation. Then leaving 0, okay? So you're going to leave 0 only. Is that making sense? You're going to leave 0 only on the other side of the equation. Okay? Then when you've done that, number 2 is that you then apply all rules. Okay? You have to apply all rules in solving quadratic equation. So it could be any of the formula methods, factorizing, or completing the square. So you have to apply all rules in solving quadratic equation to find x. Okay? Then after you've applied, number 3, what you then have to do, you then have to sketch the graph. Okay? Then after you sketch it, number 4, you then have to map the answer on the graph. So you have to map the answer on the graph. Okay. And after mapping the number 5, you then have to write the answer. The answer ranges with the right inequality notation. Is that okay? So you have to write the right ranges with the inequality notation. So you transfer everything to the left-hand side. You solve the quadratic equation the way you solve it normally using the formula, the factorizing, completing the square. You sketch, you map your answers, and you write the answer ranges for this. So let's pick one. Okay, an example now. Let's pick an example. So let's assume we have x squared is less than 16. All right, x squared is less than 16, and we're meant to solve this. So step 1, okay, what we're told to do, we have to transfer all the variables to one side of the equation, leaving 0. So we're going to take 16 to the other side. So it's going to give us x squared minus 16 is less than what? 0. Okay, then the next thing is that we then have apply the rules in solving quadratic. So let's ignore the sign for now. So let's assume that we are having step 2, we're having x squared minus 16. How did I solve this to find for x? So I'm going to use difference of 2 squares, okay? Because it's the same thing as saying x squared minus 4 squared. And I told you earlier that when you have a squared minus b squared is equal to a minus b, a plus b, okay? So x squared minus 4 squared is going to be x minus 4 and what? X plus 4. So that means x minus 4 is equal to 0. X plus 4 is equal to 0. So x will be equal to 4 and x will be equal to what? Minus 4. So that means the solutions for this is x is equal to 4 and x is equal to minus 4. All right, so this is how you the answers for that. Okay, now the next thing is that we then have to apply the rules. We've done that. Step 3, we need to sketch the quadratic graph. So step 3, we need to sketch. So I'm going to go straight into it. So I told you were sketching x squared minus 16. All right, so the first thing you need to check, the a is greater than 0, so the graph will look like this. So please go back and look at the previous video. The next thing, we need to check the shape. The shape of the graph means that a is 1, okay? The absolute value of a, which is the absolute value of 1, and that will give us a wider graph. So it's going to be like this, wider. Number 2, we need to first find the y-intercept. So at y-intercept, x is equal to 0. So that means it's going to have x squared minus 16 is equal to 0. Okay, x equals to 0. So it's going to be y is equal to x squared minus 16. Then y will be equal to 0 squared minus 16. So therefore, y will be equal to minus 16. So that means for this now, our y is going to be equal to minus 16. The next part as well is that we need to then find the x-intercept. The x-intercept, we've done that already, or the root, we found it to be 4 and minus 4, okay? And the last thing, when you solve it and you find the vertex for this is going to be 0 and minus 16. So in the previous video, I've shown you how to do all this. So I showed you how to do this using the formula method or completing the square method, all right? So I'm expecting that you know how to do this already. So let's put it here. So let's draw the graph now. Step 4, okay? Step 4, we then, step 3, we need to still sketch. So let's sketch it now. So we are having a graph. Let me drag this to be up so I can have space to draw. So drawing now, Let me draw the axis. So let's assume we have something like this, something like this, okay? So we have the y-intercept and the vertex are the same thing at minus what? 16. So we have one here. So we're expecting the graph to look like U. The x-intercept is minus 4. So this place is minus 4. And this place is what? Plus 4. Okay? All right. Then the next one, we'll have to now draw the shape of the graph. Draw the shape of the graph. It's going to look like this and like this. Okay. And that is that. Okay. So we're done sketching the graph. The next step now is that we then have to find the solutions. Okay. So map the answers onto the graph. So we've done this before. So I told you when it's greater, when it's the greater or greater than equal to, is above the x-axis. We've done this before, above the x-axis in the previous video. Okay, and I told you as well, if it's less than or less than equal to, it is going to be below, okay, the x-axis. So let's go back and see what the question gave us. The question gave us less than, so it's going to be below the x-axis. So every part of the curve below the x-axis is where the solution is going to be. And it's because it's below the x-axis, so any point for the below the x-axis is going to be where the solutions for the x is going to be. So if you look at it, it's going to be greater than minus 4 and also less than what? 4. So that means step 5, we can now say x is greater than minus 4 and x is less than 4. We can write this together. So to be x is greater than minus 4 and less than 4. So this will be the answer for that. Okay? So that will be the answer for that. So I'm going to pick one more example so we can solve more. All right, let's pick another example now. I have another example here. Okay, let's just example 2. So let's say we are having x squared is greater or equal to minus 6x minus 9. And you are told to solve for this. So step 1, okay? Step 1, I told you for you to do this, you need to transfer all the variables to one side of the equation, leaving 0 only on the other side. So we're going to transfer all this, take this to the other side. It's going to be x squared plus 6x. Take minus 9 to the other side, it's going to be plus 9. It's less than or equal to what? 0. So step 2, I told you in step 2 that you then have to apply all the rules to solving the quadratic equation. So forget about the inequalities for now. So let's just see if we had 6x plus 9. What do you do? So I'm going to use the factorization method. So it will be x plus 3, x plus 3. Are you seeing it? Okay. Then we're going to have this. So we're going to see what next we can do. So that means for this, it's going to be x plus 3 is equal to 0. X plus 3 equal to 0. So that means x will be equal to minus 3 twice. Are you seeing it? Okay. X is going to be equal to minus 3 twice. Then if you look at this now, we can now try to sketch it. So that is the step 3. We're going to sketch the quadratic equation graph. So step 3, let's do this. We're going to sketch it. So the first thing to sketch, we need to learn the value of a. The a is greater than 0. Because a is greater than 0, it's going to be U-shaped. Okay? So please try as much as possible to review the previous video. Is that all right? Then the absolute value of a, which is small, is equal to 1. So you are going to expect a wider graph. Is that all right? Then the next thing as well is that we need to find the x-intercept. Now the x-intercept is similar to the root. So the x-intercept is minus 3 and 0. Okay. Then the y-intercept, what happens at y-intercept? X is equal to 0. Okay. X is equal to 0 at y-intercept. So at y-intercept, So we have y is equal to x squared minus plus 6x plus 9. So therefore, all this will be 0. So y will be equal to 9. Then when you solve for the vertex as well, you solve for the vertex, you're going to get 0 and what? Minus 16. Now, when you want to sketch this graph now, let's sketch it. Okay, it's going to be something like this. Okay, we're going to have the what do you call it? The vertex and the y-intercept are exactly the same thing. No, this can't give you 16. This is 3. Sorry, I beg your pardon. So this is the vertex for this is going to be minus 3. For that, it's going to be minus 3. Okay? Minus 3, not 16. So that means we're going to have the vertex and the x-intercept are exactly the same thing at minus 6 and minus 3. So we're going to do it now. So this part is minus 3. And the y-intercept is what? 9. So if you want to draw this, it's going to be something like this. Like that. Drawing this well. So it's going to be something like this. Touching the x-axis only at this point here. Okay? Only at the point of what? 3. Then, right. Making it to be better. Touching it here. So touching it here. Good. Then this is 3. So it's touching it at this point here. That is what? Minus 3. Now the next part, they said if it's less than, if you remember, if it's less than is below the x-axis, and if it's greater than is above the x-axis. So that means if you look at this now, there is no part of the curve that is below. So there's nothing you can shade here. Are you seeing it? There's no part of the curve that is below, and there's nothing you can shade here. So for this, there will be no what? Solution, or not possible. Okay, because no part of the curve is below the x-axis. Is that making sense? But if, for instance, this was greater than, then we can shade above this, all right? And then we can shade above this. Okay, let's pick one more example. So let's pick this example here. So we have one more. This will be the last for this, just to explain. So let's assume we have x squared minus 6x plus 8 is greater or equal to 0, okay? Step 1, we need to put all in one side. So that has been done for us already. So it's minus 6x plus 8 is greater or equal to 0, okay? Step 2, we then have to solve this. You just ignore the sign there. So we're going to have x squared minus 6x plus 8. So I'm going to use the factorization method. I'll look for two numbers that will multiply. That will give me plus 8. And I'll add, that will give me minus 6. It's going to be x minus 2 and x minus 4. Okay, so x minus 2 equals to 0. X minus 4 is equal to 0. So x will be equal to 2 and x will be equal to 4. Okay, now step 3, I'll then have to sketch the graph. Okay, I'll sketch the graph. So a is equal to 1. So therefore, the graph is going to be U-shaped. The absolute value of a is going to be 1. So that means it's going to be wider. It's going to look like that. Then the next thing we're going to have is that we're going to find the y-intercept. So y-intercept, at y-intercept, x is equal to what? 0. So that means we have y is equal to x squared minus 6x plus 8. All this becomes 0 because it's going to be y will be equal to 0 squared. 0 will become equal to 8. So that means the y-intercept will be 8. Then to find the x-intercept. So the x-intercept, we've done that already, is going to be 2 and to be at 4. So that means you're going to be getting at 0. I'm sorry, let me put it this way. We have it as 2 and 4. So that means x is 2, y is 0. And we're going to get it as x is 4 y is 0. So we've gotten the x-intercept already. So that means we can write this one to be the y-intercept. X is going to be 0, y will be what? 8. So I can clean this one here. Yep, 0 and 8. Then also, we then need to find the vertex, okay? We need to find the vertex, and vertex, when you solve this, you can use the formula method or completing the square method. You will find the vertex to be 3 and 1, okay? So you can find the vertex to be 3 and 1. Then let's draw the graph for this. We'll draw the graph for this. All right, trying to draw a straight line. Yep, got it down. All right, so we have the y-intercept. This is the y-axis, and this is the x-axis. The y is what? 8. So let me put 8 here. Okay, y-intercept. The x-intercept is 2 and 4. So let me assume we have 2 here and we have 4 here. And the vertex is at -1. Okay, -1 and 3. So this is it. So this is, let's assume this is -1 and this is 3. Then when you draw it down, you draw it down to draw all the axes together. So you see you're going to have this graph here. And that is a smooth curve. Now, we go back now and you see that when you're mapping it, like I told you, if it's greater than or greater than equal to, you shade above the x-axis. If it's less than, you shade below. So if you look at this, we have greater than. So that means we need to shade what? Above. So that means all the points above this axis, or the line above the axis is the solution. So when you bring this down, all this point here is the solution. So all the x-axis with this point is the solution. So as you can see, it's everything that is less than 2 and everything that is what? Greater than 4. So that means step 5, the solution for this is x is less than or equal to 2 and x is greater than or equal to what? 4. And that will be the answer for that. All right, so that is that for quadratic inequalities. All right, so don't forget, the first thing you need to know is that you need to know how to first transfer all the variables to one side. You apply all the rules in solving quadratic equations. You sketch the graph, you map the answers, and you write your answers as well. And also, you need to review how to draw quadratic equation graphs. And there are 3 methods. You need to know how to use the formula, factorize, or completing the square. All right, so that'll be that for that. So please try as much as possible to review previous videos. And if there's anyone you don't understand, please reach out to me. You can send me an email, and don't forget to subscribe and like so that you can get more videos, okay? Or you'll be recommended more of these videos. And also when I upload a new video, you'll be the first person to know. All right, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.